So I was originally trying to decide between doing an overview of every new anime of summer 2020 or a review of the show Ghost Hunt, but I ran into some issues. The first issue was that I looked at a handful of the new shows, read their descriptions, and looked at their key artwork, and I was just like, uh, you know what? I'm good. The second issue was that I noticed Ghost Hunt is a 24 episode long show, and between watching previously on Lost and making my 55th new ESO character, I came to the issue of I don't want to do either of those. So I decided to make a quick video instead about a new show I found, and it was surprisingly entertaining. The show is called Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out. The premise is really simple. Uzaki-chan wants to hang out. So the first time I actually heard anything about this show was a little after the first episode came out, with most of the discourse around the show seemingly focused on the visual design of Uzaki-chan, Azaja. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but I personally did not really care one way or another, and I, as a rule, try to avoid slice of life anime. It's just not my thing. Over the following weeks, I noticed that YouTube was starting to recommend me clips from this show, though. And after a few dozen recommendations, I decided to watch it and see what all the hullabaloo was about. And you know what? It was actually kind of funny. So I ended up watching the first episode, expecting a fan service filled garbage can with one or two internet meme level jokes. But I was surprised to find a decent comedy about a college junior named Sakurai who enjoys peace and solitude, and his overly energetic underclassman, the titular Uzaki-chan, who simply wants to provide him with company because she thinks he's a lonely loser. I went on to watch all 3 episodes that are currently available as of making this video, and I believe that the show is actually pretty good. The comedy of the show is largely the result of clashing personalities, with Sakurai being a calm introvert, while Uzaki is a hyperactive extrovert, so they often cause a scene wherever they happen to be. Luckily, the two's arguing never actually felt malicious and instead came off feeling a lot like a Looney Tunes spat, like a back and forth between Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. I will admit that at least 3 episodes in, the show feels like it's rehashing the same general joke over and over again and simply changing the scenery around it by swapping out locations. So if you're not a person who found the initial joke of their inherent conflict amusing, then you might not like the show that much. I personally enjoyed it 90% of the time, because I like people who hate each other hanging out. Well, they don't really hate each other, but they can't, at least Sakurai can't stand Uzaki-chan for the most part. Anyway, aside from Sakurai and Uzuki, the show has only introduced 2 other named characters, that being Sakurai's boss, Azai-san, and Sakurai's co-worker, Ami. Ami also happens to be Azai-san's daughter, so he just has his daughter working at his cafe. These 2 characters have mainly played a minimal role so far, choosing to instead passively watch the interactions between the 2 lead characters with minimal direct interference. So they kind of act almost as a stand-in for the audience. So I would be lying if I said that the show is completely devoid of raunchy humor, but while it is there, it is only ever suggestive in nature, so it's never explicit, and for the most part the show is pretty tasteful. It actually managed to be slightly heartwarming at times, with Sakurai and Uzaki appearing to kind of start to understand each other and find a few shared common interests between the 2. So it's kind of nice to see them grow as friends, especially with the first episode setting them up as polar opposites of one another. So those are my thoughts on Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out. I can see myself following this series and enjoying the dynamic between the central duo, while also dreading the ever present threat of it descending into garbage. It doesn't look like it's gonna go there, but sometimes it scares me. Anyway, this has been Assault on Anime. Try not to die.